Supreme Court okays speedy hearing of PDP's Turaki faction appeal. Oyo Speaker denies plot to impeach Governor Makinde. France, UK to host Hormuz talks on Friday. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on the news around the world on BCOS television. I am Ifeoluwa Olaoye, and on the sign language corner is Shakirat Ogundeji. The Supreme Court has granted application for accelerated hearing moved by the Turaki-led PDP, having agreed with the submission by the Interlocutory Council, IP, Chris Uche. The court, however, granted the respondents 5 days from Tuesday to respond to the appellant's processes and fixed 22nd of April for the hearing of the main appeal. The Turaki-led PDP faction is praying the Apex Court to quash the ruling of the Court of Appeal, which upheld the ruling of the Federal High Court, stopping the PDP National Convention in Ibadan in November 2025. The Turaki-led PDP faction, during the appeal, argued that the court lacked jurisdiction over the matter. The Speaker of the Oyo State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Adebo Ogundoyin, has denied allegations that he received money from APC proxies to facilitate the impeachment of Governor Seyi Makinde. Describing the claim as false and politically motivated, he added that though he was presented with juicy offers and opportunities, nothing could sway his conscience or weaken his loyalty to Governor Seyi Makinde. Right Honorable Ogundoyin stressed that he would never betray the mandate of the people or undermine Governor Makinde's administration. He reaffirmed his unwavering loyalty to the governor and the PDP, assuring that no one can succeed in driving a wedge between him and the administration or derail the collective mandates they were elected to uphold. On a separate claim, linking his visit to the Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Rashidi Ladoja, to political scheming, Right Honorable Ogundoyin clarified that the visit was purely consultative and took place weeks earlier. He said he met the monarch to inform him of his governorship ambition and seek his blessings. He urged the public to disregard what he described as unfounded attempts to create division within the state's political leadership. As preparations for the 2027 general elections gather pace, stakeholders are persistently evaluating the readiness of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the parts played by political parties and the electorate in securing credible elections. This was disclosed by stakeholders during their appearance on BCOS TV program, Kutu High. Our reporter, Folashade Akintola, monitored the program as presented by Mary Adedapo.
An appearance on BCOS Current Affairs program, Kutuai, Barrister Sarafadin Sani, a legal practitioner, expressed optimism regarding INEC's preparedness, stating that the commission is substantially prepared for the challenges ahead. According to Barrister Sani, more efforts must be made by the electorate, especially concerning awareness and readiness to engage responsibly with political process.
Looking at the side of the electorate, I think we still have a lot to do. And that lot is premised on our awareness and readiness to face the reality. The reality on the ground now is there has been so much noise about, yes, we need better opposition, strong opposition. The question is do we have that vehicle? That vehicle we want to use as the opposition vehicle. Do we have it ready? From my own personal, just being personal about it, my own personal, I don't think we have any strong opposition.
He also expressed concerns regarding the status of opposition parties in the nation, characterizing them as feeble and disjointed. Barrister Sani condemns the internal strife afflicting major opposition parties, noting that failure to address disputes internally has eroded the ability to provide robust alternatives.
To me, INEC is ready. Electorate, if you face reality, and we take our effort, put our effort in calling on our politicians to do the needful, do what is right. Sit down, agree on how they are going to conduct this election and how they are going to give us peaceful period during the election and give us good results.
Elder Adewuyi Ojoawo also contributed by calling on INEC to issue guidelines to political parties and voters with greater transparency and proactivity. He noted with concern the inconsistencies in voter-related directives, pointing to recent verification requirements for permanent voter cards.
The whole Nigeria have spoken. We want results to be posted immediately after counting from every polling unit and be put on the RF for everybody to see. The excuse of lack of signal in some areas is not an excuse at all.
Elder Ojoawo further encouraged the Electoral Commission to amplify voter education initiatives and fully integrate technology to promote transparency.
The problem being faced by major opposition parties is caused by INEC because of their interference. If they will allow the political parties to function independently, it will be better because the interference is causing problems.
Stakeholders engaged in the program.
Colgate for 24 hours maximum cavity protection.
Just imagine walking into a full 80 to 90,000 stadium capacity with all eyeballs on you. The feeling you've been waiting for. You are now like a Michael Jackson on stage. You're a star. And this is the moment. Your 15 seconds, 10 seconds moment to shine, to deliver that God-given talent, to deliver those 4 to 6 hours a day training. Once that moment comes, go through those emotions, but at the end of the day, love it, live it, and deliver. This is MTN Champs Season 4. To register, log on to mtnchamps.com.
You're welcome. The Oyo State Chief Judge, Justice Iyabo Yerima, has granted clemency to 40 inmates of Agodi Correctional Center as part of routine exercise to decongest the facility. Staff reporter Adebayo Abdurrafi witnessed the scrutiny of the various inmates presented for consideration by the authorities of the Nigerian Correctional Center, Agodi, Ibadan. He files in the details.
The Correctional Center decongestion was in the exercise of the discretionary power invested in the State Chief Judge by the Administration of Criminal Justice Law. The Oyo State Chief Judge, Justice Iyabo Yerima, had, through a delegation led by Justice Ladiran Akitola, conduct thorough investigation of the cases of over 300 inmates presented for consideration from the Agodi Correctional Facility. Justice Akintola, in his remarks, said that in exercising the discretionary power of the delegation, some of the released inmates were observed to have overstayed in the center awaiting trial, while others were unable to meet their bail conditions.
The Honorable the Chief Judge of Oyo State, Justice Iroyin Lekun Rere, to make this a quarterly affair, much as we have tried in the first quarter of the year because of conflicting judicial responsibilities, we were unable to visit them. That's why we came early this month to visit the correctional facility with a view to reducing the level of congestion here. As you would have observed, deserving cases of inmates were visited, and those that we felt deserved the exercise of the discretion of the Honorable Chief Judge were recommended to be released.
While encouraging the released inmates to see their freedom as an uncommon favor from God, Justice Akintola charged them to turn a new leaf and embrace legitimate venture that will make them useful to the society. Eulogizing the state chief judge for the visitation to the custodial center and the clemency granted to deserving inmates, the chairman, Nigeria Bar Association, Ibadan branch, Ibrahim Lawal, said the decongestion effort will also help in correcting miscarriage of justice.
I think it is something that we should be doing from time to time in order for us to prevent abuse of power and unnecessary congestion. Look at those that had health challenges, communicable diseases. If we had not come, and you can see the state of their disease, it would have spread to other inmates, and that would have caused a lot of pandemic within the correction system. So as NBA, we are always in alliance or in alignment with the judiciary.
The Controller of Corrections in Oyo State, Oshogun Olusegun, in his welcome remarks, presented by Deputy Controller of Corrections, Musumola Bolonoduro, expressed appreciation to the State Chief Judge, Justice Iyabo Yerima, for the decongestion exercise, noting that it will further reduce the health risk being faced by the inmates and the custodians.
What we witness today is as a result of the synergy existing between Oyo State Judiciary and the Nigeria Correctional Service with respect to sustainable dispensation of justice. The total of 40 inmates has been released out of the total of 957 awaiting trial inmates.
The freed inmates included 39 males and 1 female, while the exercise moves to Abonungo Custodial Center in Oyo on Wednesday. Adebayo Abdurafi, BCOS News.
Men of the Ondo State Police Command have arrested a suspected kidnapper and rescued a victim in Ishuakoko area of the state. It was gathered that the victim, alongside one other, had gone to Ikpesiakoko for cattle rearing but failed to return home. The command spokesperson, Abayomi Jimo, in a statement made available to newsmen today, stated that the victim was rescued following a coordinated intelligence-driven operation. According to Jimo, the victim described how he was kidnapped at night by 3 suspected kidnappers and injured one of them in the head while attempting to fight back. The PPRO stated that the victim was taken to the hospital for medical attention, while the suspect has been transferred to the anti-kidnapping unit for further investigation and likely prosecution. The Resource Center for Human Rights and Civic Education has described the killing of Brigadier General Osheni Brima as a national alarm bell, warning that Nigeria's security architecture has become fragile. Recall that the Defense Headquarters on Friday confirmed the death of the commander of the 29th Task Force Brigade in Benishek, Borno State. Brigadier General Brima and 3 other personnel, 2 officers and 2 soldiers following a terrorist attack on a military formation. Speaking at a State of the Nation press conference in Abuja on Tuesday, the executive director of Charis, Ibrahim Zikrulai, said the killing of the senior officer underscores the depth of the country's security crisis. He stressed that the incident goes beyond a routine security breach, describing it as a symbolic rupture rather than merely another tragic incident in a long list of security failures. The Charis director warned that the attack has far-reaching implications for Nigeria's defense system, noting that it reveals internal vulnerabilities within the military's operational command structure. The Vice President, Kashim Shettima, on Tuesday paid a condolence visit to Kebbi following recent killings in parts of the state and the death of the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Alhaji Mohammed Usman Zuru. Shettima, who visited the government house in Burning Kebbi, conveyed the sympathy of President Bola Tinubu to Governor Nasiru Idris, families of the slain security personnel, and the people of the state. He prayed for the repose of the souls of the deceased and for strength for their families, as well as the state government to bear the losses. The Vice President also commended the Kebbi government for its efforts in education, infrastructure, and inclusive governance, noting that the state remained dear to the federal government. He, however, commended security agencies for their prompt response to distress situations across the state. Another timeout. Please don't go away.
Just imagine walking into a full 80 to 90,000 stadium capacity with all eyeballs on you. The feeling you've been waiting for. You are now like a Michael Jackson on stage. You're a star. And this is the moment. Your 15 seconds, 10 seconds moment to shine, to deliver that God-given talent, to deliver those 4 to 6 hours a day training. Once that moment comes, go through those emotions, but at the end of the day, love it, live it, and deliver. This is MTN Champs, Season 4. To register, log on to mtnchamps.com.
Cadbury 3-in-1 hot chocolate, the treat you deserve.
Thank you for staying with us. Justice Rilwan Aikawa of the Federal High Court sitting in Kaduna State has granted the former governor of the state, Nasir El-Rufai, bail. He is being charged for alleged financial misconduct, including deposits into his domiciliary account and how his earnings were handled by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. However, El-Rufai's bail application was stalled at the Kaduna State High Court as the presiding judge, Justice Dairos Kobo, has reserved ruling on the bail application to April 21, 2026. The former governor is being arraigned before the State High Court on multiple charges bordering on alleged fraud and the abuse of office leveled against him by the ICPC. El-Rufai was brought before the State Court on Monday, April 13, 2026, by ICPC operatives and personnel of the Department of State Services, DSS. Is facing an amended 9-count charge after the prosecution reviewed its initial filing, according to documents from the Kaduna State High Court. And one of the key allegations is that the former governor authorized the release of about 11 billion naira from Kaduna State funds to an unregistered entity for a proposed light rail project that was never executed. The National Pension Commission, PENCOM, has issued a strong warning to Nigerians over a rising wave of recruitment scams, urging the public to remain vigilant and avoid falling victim to fraudsters. The Commission, in a statement shared on its official X handle on Tuesday, revealed that scammers are increasingly impersonating its officials to deceive unsuspecting job seekers. According to PENCOM, the fraudsters are reaching out through various channels, including WhatsApp messages, emails, and direct phone calls, falsely claiming to offer employment opportunities within the Commission. The Commission also warned that some of the perpetrators go as far as impersonating the Director General to lend credibility to the fraudulent schemes. The Commission reiterated its commitment to safeguarding pension assets while urging Nigerians to remain cautious and verify any job-related communication through official channels. The federal government says it is investigating the activities of some sharp loan operators over alleged violation of data privacy of customers. The National Commissioner, Nigeria Data Protection Commission, NDPC, Mr. Vincent Olatunji said this in an interview on Tuesday. He added that the loan operators are private sector-based and largely unregulated loan vendors who advance immediate loans to soliciting and sometimes unsoliciting customers without collateral. Olatunji, who spoke on the sidelines of the training for data protection officers, DPOs in Abuja, said the federal government was aware of some of the lenders breaching their customers' data privacy in their desperate bid to recover their loans. According to him, some of the violations include accessing borrowers' phone contacts list and using them to reach their family members and friends, as well as sharing images without consent and sending defamatory or threatening messages. The National Commissioner emphasized the need for increased public awareness, urging Nigerians to understand their rights and carefully review loan agreements before accepting offers. We shall now take a short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
Ní ìgbà kan rí, ilẹ̀ kan wà tí kò ní adùn mọ́. Oúnjẹ ti pàdánù adùn rẹ̀, kò sì sí ohun tí a lè tún fi gbádùn mọ́. Ní ìgbà náà ni Taste Maker yọdé láti dá adùn padà sí ilẹ̀ àìládùn yìí. Gbogbo ohun tí ó ṣe ni ó wọ́n, ó rò ó sì bù ú. Láti ìgbà náà lọ, wọ́n mọ òtítọ́ kan. Gbogbo ohun tí wọ́n nílò ni wíwọ́n, rírò àti bíbù.
Taste Maker.
Thank you for staying with us. Stakeholders say the lingering fuel price hike in Nigeria cannot entirely be linked to the Iran-Israel-US conflict, noting that challenges within the petroleum sector have existed for years. This was the view of Mr. Bright Richard while featuring on BCOS News and Current Affairs program, Matters Arising. Our reporter, Hawao Ibrahim, monitored the program, and the report is presented by Bimbo Akombi.
Experts called on the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and the federal government to take advantage of the ongoing tensions affecting the Strait of Hormuz, which has disrupted crude oil supply from major producers, including Iran and Saudi Arabia. However, concerns were also raised during the program over Nigeria's limited supply output and underutilization of refining capacity, despite opportunities for increased exports. A public affairs analyst, Mr. Bright Richards, advocates a strategic shift towards local refining, particularly through the Dangote refinery, to meet domestic fuel needs and reduce dependence on costly imports.
The crisis in Iran is a blessing in disguise to Nigeria. Let's look at the geographical location of Africa and Nigeria. First of all, Dangote refinery is about 650,000 barrels per day. And if you look at the composition of the NNPC and the crude oil extraction from Nigeria, OPEC gave us a quota of 1.5 million barrels per day.
Sit there to carry all the money away from them, those you palliated. Go to these marketplaces, find out how much they are selling 1 Congo of rice, how much is a bag of rice is getting to the market. After this, try and say, this is the benchmark. They must sell. If you don't do this, in the past, during Adebo Commission, and so on, they set up price control board. Muritala came and palliated workers with so many goodies. Why can't we do it? Why can't this government do it now? And ensure that the money you are paying to these workers or the life of every Nigerian is well palliated.
As economic pressures persist, stakeholders stressed the need for inclusive policies, warning that without swift action, rising costs will continue to strain Nigerians.
At public gatherings across Oyo State and other parts of the country, it is becoming increasingly common to see individuals seated, walking about, chatting, or even using their mobile phones during the rendition of the national anthem. Worried by this growing trend, the Oyo State Director of the National Orientation Agency, Mrs. Ajolayo Akonde, has cautioned that continued disregard for the national anthem could erode national unity and weaken citizens' sense of patriotism and civic responsibility. Adeola Oladele examines the need to uphold respect for national symbols.
National symbols including the national anthem, the Nigerian flag, and the coat of arms embody the nation's unity, sovereignty, and collective identity. They serve as reminders of Nigeria's history, struggles, and shared aspirations for a better future. Traditionally, standing at attention during the national anthem and showing reverence to these symbols are regarded as fundamental civic responsibilities and visible expressions of patriotism. However, recent observations across Oyo State reveal a concerning pattern. At some public functions, a number of citizens remain seated, walk about, engage in conversations, or stay glued to their mobile phones while the national anthem is being rendered, a development many observers describe as a gradual decline in national consciousness and civic discipline. Speaking on the issue, the Oyo State Director of the National Orientation Agency, Mrs. Ajolayo Akonde, outlined measures being implemented by the agency to restore respect for national symbols. She also emphasized the importance of proper rendition of the national anthem and adherence to established protocols during official ceremonies.
The first stanza should be recited at the beginning of an official event. The third stanza has been adopted as national prayer. Whenever we have an official event, instead of calling on one pastor or imam and leaving out our traditional worshippers to pray, so it is better for us to use the third stanza of the national anthem, and the national pledge should be recited at the end of an official event. The three stanzas are not to be recited by students at assembly. The three stanzas are to be recited at an official event, such as the inauguration of a president, the inauguration of National Assembly, the inauguration of a governor, Democracy Day.
Mrs. Akode stressed that while government efforts are ongoing, parents and educational institutions must reinforce the teaching of national values and civic responsibility from an early age.
When we all stand up, whenever the national anthem is being sung or recited, it's not the kind of worshiping the national anthem or doing something that is contrary to one's belief, but it's a mark of honor that we are standing together as one. Despite our differences, we are standing together as one Nigeria. Try to do the needful so that we will join hands together to move our nation forward. The little act of standing for our national anthem and the national pledge, when they are being recited, is so enormous. We might just think that it's so little, but it's so enormous. It's moving Nigeria, part of the effort to move Nigeria to greatness.
The NOA director therefore urged Nigerians who consider standing for the national anthem as outdated or insignificant to reconsider their stance, describing the act as a simple but powerful demonstration of loyalty, unity, and commitment to the nation's ideals. Respect for national symbols, she maintained, is not merely ceremonial, it is a reflection of collective identity and national pride. Adeola Oladele, BCOS News.
Over now to Sports Desk.
Thank you for joining us on the sports segment of the news. I am Victor Pune.
We start with the news that Tottenham captain Christian Romero is set to miss the rest of the season with the knee injury sustained in their 1-0 defeat at Sunderland. The 27-year-old Argentina defender looked visibly upset as he limped off following a collision with goalkeeper Antonin Kinski in the Premier League fixture at the Stadium of Light on Sunday. It raised concerns he may have incurred an injury serious enough to rule him out of Tottenham's final 6 games as they battle to avoid relegation. Following tests, Romero is now expected to miss up to 8 weeks with a high-grade partial tear of his medial cruciate ligament. His chances of being part of Argentina's squad for this summer's World Cup are also left hanging in the balance. And now to Germany, where Hernan Berlin's director of football has condemned insane sexist abuse directed towards new head coach Marie-Louise Etter. Etter became the first woman appointed to manage a men's team in one of Europe's top 5 leagues after being named interim head coach of the Bundesliga side. Since her appointment on Sunday, the 34-year-old has been the target of sexist comments on social media. Etter is a former Germany youth international and Women's Champions League winner with Turbine Potsdam and will take charge of Union Berlin Someone's side this summer. She became the Bundesliga's first female assistant coach with Union Berlin in November 2023. She deputized for manager Nenad Bierika, who was serving a 3-match suspension during a 1-0 win over Darmstadt in January 2024 to become the first woman to lead a Bundesliga team from the touchline. We wrap up with the news that former Manchester United assistant manager Carlos Queiroz has been appointed as Ghana's head coach for the upcoming World Cup. The 73-year-old Portuguese has replaced Otoado, who was sacked on the 31st of March after friendly defeats by Germany and Austria. The Black Stars, who are in the same World Cup group as England, also failed to qualify for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations on the hurdle. Queiroz had 2 spells as Alex Ferguson's assistant Real Madrid. He was most recently in charge of Oman, but left the role last month after they failed to qualify for the World Cup. Queiroz, South Africa, and previously led Portugal in the early 1990s.
And with that, we have come to the end of the news from the ever exciting world of sports. Thank you for listening. I am Victor Pune.
France and Britain will co-host a video conference on Friday with countries ready to contribute to a purely defensive mission to secure the Strait of Hormuz. French President Emmanuel Macron and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer will co-chair the meeting to discuss a plan to restore freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz when security conditions allow. A spokesman for the British Prime Minister's office said the summit would advance work towards a coordinated, independent, multinational plan to safeguard international shipping once the conflict ends. U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran late February sparked a region-wide war and brought traffic through the Strait of Hormuz to a near standstill, blocking a key route for global oil and gas shipments. Recall that the Iran and the United States last week agreed to a 2-week cessation of hostilities, but ceasefire talks between the warring sides in Pakistan over the weekend ended in failure. U.S. President Donald Trump responded by ordering his Navy to carry out a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz starting Monday. At least 16 people have been injured after an ex-student opened fire at a high school in southern eastern Turkey. Foreign Desk Editor Folashade Akintola compiled the story and others as presented by Bimbo Akombi.
Attacker, who was in his late teens, fired indiscriminately with a shotgun before killing himself with the weapon after being cornered by police, local governor Hassan Sildak said. Those injured include 10 students, 4 teachers, a cafeteria worker, and a police officer, he said. The incident happened at around 0930 local time, that is about 6:30 GMT, at the Ahmed Koyuncu Vocational and Technical Anatolian High School in Siverek district. It has since been evacuated. The wounded were taken to hospital, with 5 later transferred to other facilities for further treatment. The motive for the attack is not yet known, and an investigation has been launched. Sildak said the attacker had no criminal record and that the school was considered safe by the police. 7 people have been arrested in connection with a deadly stampede at a popular tourist destination in Haiti. The country's national police force says the incident took place on Saturday during an annual cultural festivity at the La Ferrière Citadelle, a UNESCO World Heritage Site in northern Haiti. The authorities initially reported that 30 people had been killed, but this number has been revised down to 25. Those arrested include 5 local police officers and 2 employees of the country's National Heritage Preservation Institute, ISPAN, which oversees the preservation of Haiti's major landmarks. They are currently in custody pending further legal action, police said. An investigation into what happened has been launched, but Prime Minister Alex Didi Fils-Aim said on Saturday that the stampede happened during a tourist event attended by many young people at the site in the town of Milot. He added that 3 days of national mourning for the victims will begin on Tuesday. Milot Mayor Westnight Joseph said that his administration was not aware of any activity planned at the Citadel on Saturday, and that they had later found out that a local DJ had invited people via TikTok. And finally, at least 3 vessels, including 2 United States-sanctioned tankers, have entered the Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz on the first full day of the U.S. blockade on ships calling at Iranian ports, according to shipping data. As the 3 vessels transiting the strait on Tuesday were not heading to Iranian ports, they were not affected by the blockade. Panama-flagged Peace Gulf, a medium-range tanker, is heading to Amriya port in the United Arab Emirates, LSEG data showed. The vessel typically moves Iranian naphtha, a petrochemical feedstock, to other non-Iranian ports in the Middle East for export to Asia, Kepler data showed. Prior to this, 2 United States-sanctioned tankers passed through the narrow waterway through which a fifth of global energy exports pass. Andy tanker Mollis Kishan is heading to Iraq to load fuel oil on Thursday, Kepler data showed. The vessel, formerly known as MKA, has transported Russian and Iranian oil. Another sanctioned tanker, Rich Stali, will be the first to make it through the strait and to exit the Gulf since the blockade began. On Monday, data from LSEG and Kepler showed. The tanker and its owner, Shanghai Xuaron Shipping Company Limited, were sanctioned by the US for dealing with Iran. Bimbo Akambi, BCOS News.
To end the news around the world, here again are the main points. The Supreme Court has granted application for accelerated hearing moved by the Turaki-led PDP, having agreed with the submission of the Interlocutory Council, IR, Chris Uche. The Speaker of the Oyo State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Adebo Ogundoyin, has denied allegations that he received money from APC proxies to facilitate the impeachment of Governor Seyi Makinde, describing the claim as false and politically motivated. France and Britain will co-host a video conference on Friday with countries ready to contribute to a purely defensive mission to secure the Strait of Hormuz. BCOS website is live. Kindly visit www.bcostv.com. You can watch us on GoTV channel 134 and channel 113 on StarTimes. And now, before I go, don't join hoodlums in threatening the peaceful coexistence of the country. It is only in an atmosphere of peace that development thrives. That ends the news around the world. Thank you for watching. Good evening.